15% of men over 45 have 0 close friends. The Surgeon General says that will kill you as fast as smoking a pack a day. Where are your friends?
So up to this point, the shows that we have done have been to create awareness about the disruption that's here that we don't realize is here, the technological disruption that's present, and what's coming. But learning about AI, knowing about AI, using AI, making AI a tool, there's got to be more to it than just that for us.
Yeah. So the last 3 weeks we have read about, if you read the dispatch, we were talking about machines that think faster than you do, systems that moved into the physical world without asking permission, and sorting that is already separating the men who adapt from the men who do not. And if you're like most men, you did all that by yourself, all alone. You read it at your desk. Maybe you had it in your phone between meetings. You thought about it when you were out on a walk. You might even have mentioned it to your wife or forwarded it to a friend. But you didn't sit across from another man and say what you were actually thinking. And that you did not say the thing that is kind of underneath the thing is, you are navigating the most consequential shift of our lifetime, and you're doing it all alone.
This is the Second Half Man Show. I'm 601. We're here every Tuesday. Today, we'll be discussing The Last Advantage. If you like the way the show goes, make sure you hit that like button. Also, subscribe. We'd love for you to become a member of the Brotherhood. Don't forget to leave comments if you have any. Don't forget about our weekly newsletter that is free to subscribe for, the Dispatch. It's usually the information that we're analyzing in these shows. So with that, let's get back to this topic.
Look, I think what we're talking about here is not a technology problem. You have a connection problem. And that is the one problem that no algorithm will ever be able to solve for you. So what we're talking about is your circle, right? So the percentage of men with at least 6 close friends has been cut in half since 1990. Like 15% of men now report having no close friends at all. And that's a 5-fold increase in 3 decades. 1 in 5 unmarried men, that's 20% of unmarried men, say they have nobody that they would call a close friend. And the American Perspective Study calls it friendship recession. And for men over 45, it's closer to friendship depression. So we have a lot of things that are going on, and it all comes down to our inner circles.
I think, I can relate to that. I think from 1990 on, it's funny because we kind of fit that age group. I remember you and I, we had a group of what we call friends, guys we were hanging around all the time, sharing information. And then I think as time, it's natural, right? Time rolls on. My job moved me, out of Miami at that time. I had kids. You didn't get married till after me, but it's just, you do. It's absolutely correct. Your circle of friends gets smaller and smaller and smaller as time goes on.
Yeah, you said one thing. You said you think it's only natural. It may be. I don't know if it's only natural. I just know that according to the statistics that we're looking at, it's getting worse over time, not any better. I mean, the bad part about it is it's not just, a minor thing. It has serious, more than just social consequences, serious consequences for your health. U.S. Surgeon General issued a formal advisory declaring loneliness as a public health epidemic. The findings stopped people cold. It said social disconnection carries a mortality risk that's comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's almost a pack a day. It raises stroke risk by 32%, heart disease by 29%, and for men over 50, isolation raises dementia risk by 50%. There's not an emotional, softness dressed up as science. This is cardiology and neurology. This is hard facts.
So there's health in our socialism, right?
I didn't say in your socialism now.
Socialism. I mean, in our socialism with each other, us, being together, being in a group, I can't play men's softball with just one guy. So,
yeah. And the thing about it is it's not just numbers, right? It's about depth. Men aren't just losing friends, they're losing the quality of the friendships that they keep. The same research shows that men report being less emotionally connected to their friends than they do at any point in the survey's history. And women outperform men on every single measure of emotional engagement and support with inside friendships. Not because men don't need it, but because men stop doing the work to build it, and especially as we get older. So, the AARP in their 2025 study found that 40% of adults over 45 now report being lonely, right? That's up from 35% in 2018. Not that long ago. That's a, big jump. And men in this age group report higher loneliness than women. 42% of the men reported that they were lonely, while only 37% women did. And the men in the exact demographic reading the dispatch, our guys, last analog generation, are the most affected by this shift. And they're encountering at the same moment, we're being asked to navigate the largest technological disruption in human history. All this is not going in the right direction.
Yeah, I would assume that the introduction of technology, more so than we are aware of, it's not helping our ability to get out and spend time with other people or interact with other guys, right?
Yeah. And so here's the really big thing. Men are significantly less likely than women to turn to friends, family, or professionals for support, right? We communicate less frequently with our friends. We are more likely to report not belonging to any group or community. And that data doesn't say men are lonelier than women in the broad sense. It says men are more disconnected. And that distinction matters because loneliness is a feeling. Disconnection is a structural failure.
Yeah, the thing is though, Russ, we grew up in a time where we didn't have time to be sissies. We didn't have time to to cry about things. We didn't have time to be worried about whose feelings we were hurting. We didn't have time to worry about our own feelings, right? We had a job to do. We had to move forward. We were taught that nobody can solve your problems really but yourself, right? You gotta stay focused. You gotta have a goal, and you have to keep moving in that direction.
Yeah.
Right? You can't dispute that we weren't raised that way.
Nope. And therein lies the trap. The man who believes self-reliance means going it alone, right? Yeah. We built our careers on competence. We solved problems. We provided for families. We didn't ask for help. And that was a deal. For decades, it all worked well enough that, we never had to question anything. But, the world that rewarded solitary competence is the same world that is being rewritten by AI every week. And the man who could figure everything out on his own is facing systems now that evolve faster in a single day than one man can possibly track. And the playbook that made him successful is the same playbook that is leaving him isolated at the exact moment he needs other men around him the most.
Yeah, but I think I hear what you're saying. I agree with you. That now is the time. Now is the time, if you will, to build a brotherhood, right? So that we can cope with what's going on there. But it's hard to break the tradition, I guess you want to call it, of us going alone, right? We need, we always felt like, hey, who can you depend on more than yourself? Nobody, right? All the dependence you have, the desire to get things done. Every decision I ever made, yeah, I as I got older, I shared them with my wife, and she gave me some influence. But ultimately, I always felt, oh, I got to make the right decision. I got to make the right decision.
Yeah.
So,
Well, look,
it's been a lifelong thing, right? Now I'm gonna have to change. I'm gonna have to adjust that, right? Is that what you're saying?
well, yeah, the trap is not that you can't see the problem, right? The trap is that kind of almost exactly what you were saying is that we've been trained to believe that needing other men is a sign of weakness, rather than a sign of wisdom. And we will upgrade our software, we'll try and learn the new tools, and we'll read every newsletter and watch every tutorial out there, but we will not pick up the phone and call another man and say, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and I think we should try to figure this out together. We try to do everything to avoid, appearing weak or not able to handle it on our own.
I think, I mean, you would agree. Look, most of the guys that we're targeting, most of the guys that we want to help are guys that are independent individuals. They've built their business, they've climbed the corporate ladder, they've done well. And with that, in most of those leadership roles, as you're aware, you have to maintain a position of confidence. You have to maintain a position of assuredness. You have to show those people that you're leading, that you're infallible, that they can count on you, that every decision you make is going to be not only in your best interest, but their best interest.
Yeah.
And so that creates, by its very nature, right? That creates a lot of solitude, because if you work all the time and you're around them people all the time, then you're on guard all the time.
Yeah. Look, I know that man. Hell, I was that man. When I was having the issues with my business, I had plenty of people around me, right? Employees, vendors, clients, professionals, they all paid to interact with me. And look, I didn't have a single man that I could sit with and say the truth out loud. Not the professional version of the truth, but the real one, because for exact reasons you said, you can't tell your clients you're having issues. You can't tell the banks you're having issues. You can't tell your employees you're having issues. That all those things just kind of go out the window, and it's hard not to, fall into that old I'm we're strong, everything's okay, and try to show that assuredness and that everything's going to be fine. Let's just keep on moving. And, sometimes that's just not the case, but you can't really show that. Right. And that's the biggest problem. And, after my business finally did collapse, the rebuilding didn't start with a plan. I was pretty down. The rebuilding just started with a conversation, an honest conversation with one man who I'd known since fourth grade, right? 601, you didn't have any answers. You didn't have,
Nope.
You didn't have great advice.
Nope.
You didn't know how to tell me what to do in the situation I was in.
Right.
But you had presence. You sat with me. You listened. You helped me just keep moving forward. And that is a different thing entirely from knowing what to say. You didn't have to know what to say. You just had to be there. And everybody needs somebody like that, a circle of friends that they can rely on. And that is where this week's code comes into play. Element 21 of the Sovereign's Code in my upcoming book, the second half manifesto, how to stay dangerous when AI and society want you obsolete, is simply entitled Connect. right? Becomes the foundation that everything else is built on. It's about deep, meaningful relationships being life's ultimate force multiplier. Last week we talked about force multiplication, but this week we show that connect and who you are connecting with is the ultimate force multiplier that there is. And it transmutes every just ordinary experience into something extraordinary and meaningful. And I spent the last 10 dispatches talking about technology, systems, intelligence, sovereignty, and all of it matters, but none of it works alone. None of it. So the man who commands AI without a brotherhood commanding alongside of him is just a more efficient version of lonely. He may have better tools, but nobody to build with. The Sovereign's Code has 22 elements for a reason. 4 of them live in the connections domain. And this is not an afterthought. It's architecture, right? You cannot build sovereignty on a foundation of isolation. You need men around you. You need people who see what you're building, understand why it matters, and refuse to let you quit in the middle when it all gets really messy.
So, what I'm hearing you say, and unfortunately, I always try to put it into simple terms because I agree completely. What you seem to be describing to me as a brotherhood, right? This is also not the quantity of connections that we have, right? But the quality of the connections that we have, right? Is that if I'm hopefully I'm on the right page. So
You're exactly right. You do have to have a good close circle of friends, and more than one is preferable, but you'd rather have connections as opposed to just connections across them.
I agree. So that, one, if not none less than one, if it's only for one, just make sure that it is a quality connection that you have. So the sovereign solution that you gave us was connections, right? So give
Yeah.
us a move. Give us a move this week, Russ. What's the move we can make this week?
All right. This is one of those that is super simple,
I like simple. Let me hear
but it might be one of the hardest things you'll ever do.
it. how did how did I know? Go ahead.
One call. That's it. This week, call one man. Don't text. Don't email. Don't comment on social media. Pick up the phone. Call him.
One
Someone
guy
you
I've not
respect.
talked to in a long time.
Someone you respect. Someone you have not talked to in a long time. Someone who would be surprised to hear your voice. Pick up the phone. Call him. And when he picks up, skip the small talk. Tell him what you've been thinking about and how fast the world is moving, and that you wanted to hear what he was seeing from where he was and where he sits. And then just listen. Have a conversation that neither one of you was expecting and that neither one of you had time to prepare for. That's it. Just have a good old fashioned conversation. And then when the conversation is done, if it went well, don't let it end there. Schedule the next time you're going to talk. Don't say, yeah, we should do this again sometime, or yeah,
It was great
talk to you
hearing
again.
from you.
Yeah.
We'll talk again.
Pick a date, put it on your calendar, and that's the difference between a friendship and a memory. That recurring contact, right? Make sure that you have people in your life that you are going out of your way to make sure are closer to you every single day.
Well, I don't know how easy that one move's going to be. I'm going to give it a whirl. As you're talking, I've got a couple guys already in mind that I just got to pick one of them. So this is the second half man show again. If you like the topic we discussed today, we hope you hit that like button. We hope that you subscribe, right? We also hope that you leave us some comments. Simple reminder, don't forget that all the episodes that we've dropped since the beginning of the year, they're on YouTube at the Second Half Man Show. Right? You look that up, you'll see the library of shows and shorts and 3-minute videos that we've dropped since the beginning of the year. Again, don't forget about the dispatch. That's our free, right, subscription to our weekly newsletter, the dispatch. We drop it every Sunday, right, Russ?
Yep.
So any last thoughts, Russ? You got any last thoughts you want to share with us?
Yeah. Look, the man who faces disruption alone does not overcome it. He just endures it. Brotherhood is the last advantage no machine can replicate. Make the most of your friendships this week.
So with that, this is the Second Half Man Show. I'm 601.
I'm Russ Borden.
Stay dangerous.